Let me go back over here. Great. So I know we are almost kind of
Out of
at
time.
that 2 hour limit. I just want to say that the only other new game I'll potentially be playing is Mega Man.
Yes, Battle
As
Network. Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, the only other games on the horizon for me are Age of Wonders 4 and Tears of the Kingdom. Obviously, just kind of gets added to that list. But I was going to say Diablo 4 is the only thing I'm kind of looking forward to. So for me, like, I just want to play like my current stuff that I have, and Mega Man Battle Network I'm sure I'll play around with. That's a game though that I'm okay just like playing once in a while as
Yeah.
like it's a nice change of pace kind of game, and those are short. So that's really about it for me on my side. Because you mentioned that you've got um you're still playing Trails of Azure on here, and I don't know what Fuga. I think you probably mentioned it before. Fuga
Uh,
Melodies of Steel.
yeah. This is a game. I'll talk about it real quick. I actually finished it
Oh,
yesterday. It's a game that I played a little bit of. I played like, I want to say a little less than half of it back in like August or September
mm-hmm.
last year. It's on Game Pass, so I'll just, you know, it's there. Um, this game is it is an RPG developed by CyberConnect 2, which is a Japanese studio that does like the Ninja Storm games, like those
Oh,
fighting games.
oh, interesting. Okay.
Um, and it's a lot of like 2D art in the game. The art's really good,
Yep.
but um, the game is basically I mean, the story, it gets a little more complicated than this, but it starts as like it's World War II. You're in France,
Got
and
it.
um, but every character in the game is like is an animal, like a humanoid animal. So
Okay.
like your country is called Gasco, and you're like cats for the most part, and Germany is the Burman Empire and their dogs. So
Okay.
um,
Interesting. Very interesting.
and so Burman invades, so Germany invades France, and you are a group of children whose town is invaded, and all your um, parents and friends and etc. are kidnapped by the Burman Empire,
Yep.
and you come upon this gigantic tank. I don't exactly remember how this works. It's been a very long time since I played the beginning of the game. Remember, this was back in like
Yeah, yeah,
August,
yeah,
so
yeah,
more
yeah,
than six
yeah.
months ago. But you somehow come upon this giant tank known as the Tyrannus, which has a like an old school radio in it with this voice that talks at you. It says like, you have the power, go save your family, blah blah blah.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so your group of children mount the Tyrannus, and you go
This
and fight back against the Burman
this
Empire.
this sounds
Um,
like that right there specifically. That's like some Saturday morning cartoon kind of shit. That particular part. Everything else outside of that, it's like you have the power. Go save them. It's just like okay,
yeah,
that's like Saturday morning cartoon stuff. Not not saying that in a bad way. I just think it's funny. That's
yeah.
exactly what I would expect out of like kind of that kind of like a show. Um, okay, so you're cat people going after the dogs, save your family, your cat family in a big tank. I assume you
Yeah,
don't just fight in the big tank all the time.
you do. You fight in the big
Oh,
tank
oh,
the
you fight in
entire
the big
time.
tank all the time. Okay, got it.
You fight other like tanks and helicopters, and you're always
Oh,
fighting other like machines
I
basically.
I have someone that might be interested in this. I'm gonna send a message to him. Uh, Hectic in particular might like playing as a
Um,
tank in a video game.
and the way the combat works is basically the tank. Every character, and you end up getting up a cast of up to 12 characters
Yeah.
for your tank, and every character uses one of three weapons. It's either a machine gun, a grenade launcher, or a cannon.
Okay.
Um, and basically and you can have 3 characters active at a time, basically.
Yep.
You have 3 active characters and 3 like support characters, one behind each, and then you have like your bench characters
Sure.
once you have enough.
Sure.
And then the different like enemy types have different weaknesses to the different weapons. So like the cannon is red, so they have a red weakness. You shoot them with the cannon. When you hit all the enemy weaknesses, their turn gets delayed. Like it's like a time bar thing at the top that shows the turn order. And when you hit the weaknesses, all the weaknesses, the enemy gets delayed on the turn order, basically.
Incentivizing you to try and hit those. Makes sense.
Yeah. And for example, the cannon, which is the most powerful, is also the least accurate. So there's some like small like the flying enemies, like the helicopters and like the flying enemies, the cannon only have like a 50% chance to hit those things.
Okay.
Because they're like fast and the cannon is big and slow.
Yeah.
But the cannon's really effective against like the bigger, stronger like tanks and stuff that the enemies use. And the grenade launcher is kind of the middle of the road. The grenade launcher also has a bunch of skills that can do like status effects and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then there's a couple other mechanics, like the enemy units can have armor, which you can like shred armor with certain items, but also generally the machine gun characters have abilities that can shred armor. And yeah, basically there's 12 chapters. Every chapter, like, you move around along this like path, and you make choices on the path, kind of like a roguelike, honestly, where it's like, do you want to take like the safe path, the normal path, or the dangerous path?
Right.
So the safe paths is like the easiest battles, but like the rewards are the worst, basically.
Makes sense.
And same thing. So safe, normal, dangerous.
Yep.
And then I guess the one other thing I'll mention about the combat is that so you can swap your you can swap your formation.
Yeah.
Not at any time, but so basically you can swap your formation at any time except for right after you swap your formation. So you have to wait 3 turns after you swap your formation to be able to swap your formation again.
Okay.
So if you need to change your formation to like shred armor or to like to hit certain weaknesses, and then every character has like a link attack with every other character. So there's like these like bond points that you build up in these intermissions, and there's this in between battle thing where you have this intermission. So you have a resource that you have to build bond points, to recover from injuries, to upgrade your tank, to like harvest resources. So there's this kind of like meta game in between battles where you have a certain amount of resource to be able to do things that you need to do between the sections of the chapters where you're actually fighting. And yeah, it's a cool game. It's not that long. It took me, I want to say, like 22, 23 hours to beat total. So not too long.
Yep.
Pretty cool, pretty fun, pretty cute. The story mostly stays along the lines of like, children fighting for their friends and their family and, power of friendship type stuff. But there are a few twists and turns in the story that make it a little more interesting. I'm not going to tell you it's groundbreaking or anything, but the story's pretty good. There is also one other mechanic that I didn't talk about because I never used it intentionally, but in boss battles you can access an attack called the Soul Cannon, which is when you get low enough on health in a boss battle, the game tells you, hey, it's looking rough, you should use the Soul Cannon. But in order to use the Soul Cannon, you have to sacrifice one of your characters. You have to kill one of your children.
You have to kill a character, but it probably gives you like an automatic out, is the way that it works.
I don't remember. Yeah, again, I never used it outside of like the tutorial for the Soul Cannon. There's a tutorial for it early in the game that shows you how it works, and then it does this like time rewind thing where like that doesn't actually happen. But yeah, it does. I don't know if it like auto wipes the boss, but I'm sure it does like a crap ton of damage when you use it.
Got it. So it gives you
And there
some
are-
way to get it out, but you have to
Yeah, there's-
sacrifice somebody.
You permanently sacrifice one of your
Yeah.
12
I
characters.
mean, it's called
and you
Soul
don't start-
Cannon. You got to put soul
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah. And there are multiple endings in the game. For the best ending, you have to keep all 12 characters alive.
Oh, man.
For the best ending, so you never use the soul cannon. And there is one character that you get. The last character that you get, there's some other requirements to get that character to survive as well to get the true ending.
I see.
But as the god gamer that I am, I got the true ending on
Of
my
course,
first
of
one
course.
through. So.
Of course. You weren't just spamming the soul cannon. Can you just use it without the prompt? I'm curious.
Can you what? What's
Can
the
you-
question?
Can you use the soul cannon without the prompt? Can you just
No.
Okay. I'm about to say, like, what an absolutely maniac that just goes turn 1. I'd like to use the soul cannon. I'd like to use it.
The enemy is one little tank that has one weakness icon. Yes,
This
I'd like
should
to
be
use the
easy.
soul. I'd like to use the soul cannon, please.
This should be an easy fight. You're right. Soul cannon. Wait. That's so messed up. Some maniac. They probably thought, like, man, somebody's gonna be a maniac and just soul
Yeah.
cannon spam with no regard for anything because
I mean,
it's
I
a
think
video
I've heard
game.
there's a bad ending where you get to the final chapter and you only have 2 characters left, and then you use the soul cannon. So you use the soul cannon every single chapter basically, and
Holy
you just
shit!
sacrifice the entire squad.
And you get to the failure. I got here, but nobody's alive. Oh man, that is messed up. God, that's so they knew, they're like, man, some maniac is gonna spam this
It's gonna spam.
if we don't limit it to a prompt.
Yeah.
Because somebody's just gonna go turn 1, soul cannon, fire. That would be so bad. Anyway, well, sounds interesting. I'm gonna tell Hectic about it. He might be interested. He
Yeah. Again,
likes tank games.
it's on Game Pass, and I think there's actually a second one coming. I want to say it's coming out in May. Actually, the second one is coming out.
Oh,
so,
interesting. Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I'll have to mention it to Hectic for sure. Hectic loves his tank games, so he might take to it if he's able to play it. But yeah. Anyway.
it's a cool game, as I said. It's on Game Pass. It was worth a playthrough on Game Pass. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember how much it costs. I want to say
mean-
it's 40.
Look, Game Pass lets you try to. Do you know something? I think Guardians of the Galaxy is not on Game Pass anymore. By the way,
It's not. It left Game Pass.
If anybody out there wanted to play that game at any point, you missed out, and you had Game Pass, you missed out. That's all I'll say, because it's no longer on there. I'm sure it's so heavily discounted at this point for some of these sales.
Yeah.
It's probably $10 to $15 almost, maybe 20. Sorry, maybe 20. But man, when it was on Game Pass, that was a little gem on Game Pass. There's a couple.
Fuga is 40 if you want to buy it on Steam.
Okay.
So
Game Pass being an option is great for that. Okay. Well, I don't have any other games. Like I said, I haven't started anything new, frankly. The Mega Man Battle Network would be the only thing that is. Well, it's not even new. It's just
replaying
it's
old
just
games.
replaying an old game, which is I'm not interested in really trying to play that a lot, to be honest. Just play it a little bit because I miss playing that style of game, that game in particular. But yeah. Anyway, well, I am